Come on, Joe.
Always.
Good morning, my little blueberry muffins. How are we this morning? Welcome to the News and Views with the EV Café. 30 minutes of what's happening in sustainable transport with expert analysis from the EV Café crew. Brought to you this week in partnership with Churchill Expert. Oh, yes. Anybody want to join in?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, no. Now then, how are you, my lovelies? No, how are you really? We do care. I'm a solid 6 today, moving slowly towards a 7. But tell us in the chat where you are in the world, so geographically, because last week we had somebody from Jakarta, I seem to recall, as well as in Barbados. So tell us in the chat where you're from, and also how you are out of 10. Now, Paul, you're not in your mum's bedroom this morning?
I'm not. No, I'm in a very professional setup for Motorhome Matt. I've stolen his studio, and I'm here, and it's really exciting. Matt is quietly sitting in the corner, but we might get him on if there's a particularly relevant thing for him to comment on.
Well, thank you. And Sam, you're at home by the looks of things?
Yes, at my home studio, which isn't a studio. It's just the corner of my office.
It's a bedroom.
Yeah, that's the usual, same spot.
And Sarah, out and about. Where are you, Flower? I think you're on a train somewhere.
I am, and I've lost my voice.
Well, we won't be coming to you for comment then, so go away. Thanks for looking after the chat and that. Right, today's
Yes,
opinions
no
on
answers,
the stick.
John. Let's give a yes, no answers, I think.
So, we've met our opinions on a stick, so grab a cuppa and plug into what's happening in clean transport news this week. Now then, before we start, we are the news service that dares to speak positively about BP and Shell. Credit where it's due. Check in for item number 5 today. It will be of special importance if you've yet to start your journey into EV or are only a little way in. Stop tittering at the back. Now then, coming up, a £1 billion fund to expand EV charging networks is still not opened by the government after 3 years. Councils will be required by law to produce local charging strategies. More new laws to improve electric vehicle charging approved by MPs. Vital EV, great friends of ours, are offering megawatt charging. Ooh! And Shell gently tickle the needle of climate change. But first, a few extra tidbits. BP have invested $100 million in buying the latest V4 Tesla chargers in the US of A. Interesting. Teva, the hydrogen range extended 7.5-ton EV truck, have had a bit of a bust-up with Electromechanica over a proposed merger, and it's going legal. Could get messy, but Teva claims to have all their trucks in a row. See what I did there?
Nice.
I thank you. And despite the immediate termination of the merger agreement, they have orders and are seeking medium and long-term finance, suggesting that the short-term finance isn't an issue. More on that story as we get it. But now on with the show. And that first story, that £1 billion meant to help Britain's electric vehicle charging network remains unallocated more than 3 years after it was first announced by our illustrious leader. Promised in March 2020, before the first COVID lockdown, in Mr Sunak's early weeks as Boris Johnson's Chancellor, the Rapid Charging Fund was meant to support electrical capacity at motorway service stations. We may have an expert in that field coming on soon. It was intended to help fund upgrades to the grid so that more electric cars can be rapidly charged at the same time. The fund is still not yet open for applications. A pilot scheme had been planned for late 2022 before it was pushed back to spring 2023. Then the summer of this year. And that's been and gone. The government indicated last week that there would be further delays after the Transport Minister, Jessie Norman, great friend of the EV Cafe, admitted to the House of Commons it was still in the process of developing a pilot, which will open in due course. We cross now live to Sam Clark for his thoughts on this.
My thoughts on this. Well, I need to be very careful what I say.
I don't.
Yeah, you don't, but I do, because it's a sensitive subject. But I think what I will say about it, though, is that I see some degree of flaw in it, in as much as putting the timing aside for 1 second. As you said in your introduction, John, it suggests to focus on the motorway service areas. They are being dealt with already. What really needs to happen is the rural areas need to be supported, not the motorway service areas. So this money needs to go to the rural locations where there is a charging desert, not where the commercial markets have already done the work. As you can see from GridServe hubs popping up almost weekly, we're doing it anyway. And it's commercially viable anyway. So why put the money where it doesn't need to be at the moment? It needs to be focused where sites are not commercially viable, which is one of the prerequisites for the funding in the first place. So I think we should move away from motorway service areas and focus on the places that actually matter.
If only Jesse Norman had said it that eloquently. Thank you, Sam. Paul, you have some thoughts.
Well, do you know what? It's always frustrating when we talk about greenwashing and companies doing stuff for the environment and promising all the earth, but delivering very little. And this is a classic case, isn't it? The government have said, oh, we're going to do this and we're supporting that and we're pushing this and, all of that kind of stuff. And actually nothing's happening. It's just not good enough. I take Sam's point that the commercial people have, kind of pushed forward with charging infrastructure. I've been down to Cornwall and up on the sort of the North Devon coast, and there is good charging, and I think that is an important point. But ultimately, we just need to get stuff done, and the money needs to go somewhere to improve things. But at the moment, the government is sitting on their hands, and it's just not good enough.
Thank you kindly. And shall we get a whisper from Sarah?
Harsh.
Probably
No.
not. That's going to be an outtake, definitely. Okay, let's move on. The government has confirmed that it will introduce new legislation forcing councils to produce local electric vehicle charging strategies, to pick up on Sam's very eloquent point, because there are big black holes out there. Publishing its response to the Future of Transport Zero Emission Vehicles consultation, ministers said the move will ensure that every part of the country has a plan for EV charging infrastructure. Sam, did you for once read the script?
No.
In its response to the consultation, the Department for Transport says that the local transport plans will be updated to include the requirement for local transport authorities to produce EV charging strategies and ensure provision of charging points. It will also continue to monitor and evaluate the rollout of charging infrastructure in existing non-residential car parks, reviewing powers if market pace is deemed insufficient. There's a real hole here, a big opportunity, I guess, for going to the places where others do go, but charge point operators kind of go, well, not sure, it's a bit marginal. Is that where that billion pounds could be spent to plug those gaps, to make them less marginal? Because let's be honest, charge point companies will chase the money. The smaller ones, they'll go where the money is. Paul,
can I jump in on that, because it was a point that I forgot to mention previously. So at one point I had to pay 85 pence per kilowatt hour for my energy. So Sam has made the point that it's viable for commercial operators to do this and to put in the grid infrastructure, but would we really need to pay 85p a kilowatt hour if the government were supporting this, the rollout of the charging connections? I don't know. Sam probably has an answer to that, but it was good to see, in the Cornwall services that it was down at 66p a kilowatt hour in the GridServe stuff, even though we didn't quite go perfectly. But it's not the point. The point was the price is coming down, and I actually paid 44 pence per kilowatt hour for overnight charging. So that was more like in a place where I'm like, yeah, actually that's a figure I'm comfy with out in the public domain. So this money needs to be used to bring down the cost of the per kilowatt hour and make this commercially viable model actually consumer viable as well as commercially viable.
Sam, you have some thoughts?
Yeah, there was a point that someone made on one of our WhatsApp groups this morning, which was interesting, about the cost of a coffee. Like, how much does it cost to make a coffee at home, how much does it cost to buy one from the coffee shop round the corner, and how much does it cost to buy one at the service station? They're all coffee, but they all cost materially different values based on the convenience factor of said coffee, just like John. So it's inevitable there's going to be a price disparity across from very convenient public networks through to the more local ones. So there's always going to be a cost disparity. It's the same.
It's not the same though, Sam. This is not a luxury. This is getting us from A to B. So you can go out and buy coffee, and that's a luxury.
Let me finish my point.
But there's this marked difference. Okay.
There is a marked difference because the cost base of having to install the kind of infrastructure which you then enjoy is significantly bigger. So if this money can go towards those more rural areas, more council, on a lower dwell time, lower power, and lower cost infrastructure, then it can cost less to procure the energy from those chargers. So there's a proportionate value in terms of the cost that it takes to install very high powered, very expensive kit in very, very high traffic areas versus a council car park in a small town, right? There's a complete difference in cost, and therefore inherently the price that you pay for that energy as a result.
Does anyone
but people are relying on
Springer?
it and still paying 75, 85 pence, and they're relying on it because they don't have a home option. And this is the critical element. Businesses can't afford to continue to charge publicly because the cost is too high. It defeats the whole total cost of ownership model when they are relying on it 100%. If they have a blended model, that's not so bad. But if they have a reliance on public charging, it's too expensive currently for businesses to make it easy to go electric. Whereas on the continent, we're seeing public charging in high footfall areas of 25 cents a kilowatt hour. So we've got a big disparity that we need to sort out, and government money needs to help there.
Well, certainly the VAT element will be useful. That's one major component that is not fair. It's not fair to be paying 20% and then was it 5% at home?
5% at home.
That just doesn't make sense.
A point well made by Liz Allen in the chat. And as we mentioned the chat, let's say hello to a few people. But first, I'm going to die. Daryl Sharp, good morning. And a little bit of Scottish there. Adrich Ochtamachti, which I'd love to hear the others say. Paul, Adrich Ochtamachti?
Adrich Ochtamachti?
Not bad. Sam?
Adrich Ochtamachti? I don't know. I can't see it. I don't know what
that was bad, but thank you.
Yeah,
and Sarah, we won't bother. Ashley Bannister, good morning. Dan Martin, Mark Elliott, Jacob Hunt, Kirsty Robinson. Kirsty, you've been an ever-present. Bless your little heart. Michael Barton, hello from Bristol. Laura Hustwick, Wilkes from Power. Lucy Albury. Lucy, new. Amy Phillips, hello. Dan Martin, Michael Anderson, Teresa Swift from down there in Canterbury. That's sign Mark, bless them. Steve Hamer from Shell. We've got you coming up at item 5, Steve. Good bit of research been done there. Gemma Lovett from Barbados. We remember you well. Andy Hill, Jev Chakravarti, Esther Jones from the AA. Daryl Sharp. Oh, somebody's been very rude. Anyway, Tony
said hello
Clayton.
to him already.
Tony. Stop it. Yeah, indeed. Because Tony just chats. He's a constant. Jamie Fretwell, Mercedes-Benz Trucks, Rob Dustin, Nick Ansell, Nick, bless your little heart, Yasmin Jeffries, Sarah Sloman, whoever she is. Good, lovely. Jason Gill. Hello, Jason, from a wet Ascot.
You could be doing this for hours.
Well, I know it is getting a bit silly. And
Dave Bushdell. Hey, Dave.
Dave, we can't thank you enough. Genuinely, when I started reading out people's names, there were like half a dozen, and it was quite funny. And now there's a great deal more than that, and it's I'm losing the will to live here. Love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's move on. New regulations aimed at giving electric vehicle drivers access to transparent, easy to compare pricing information, simple payment methods, and more reliable charge points have been rubber stamped by MPs. They love a bit of rubber, those MPs. Charge point operators will also be required to open up their data, which the Department for Transport hopes will make it easier for drivers to locate charge points, check their charging speeds, and determine whether they are working and available for use through third-party apps. online maps and in-vehicle software. The new regulations come after the UK surpassed 50,000 public charge points with the 50,000th charging device installed by MFG EV Power at the service station in Weston-super-Mare. Now then, Paul, charging doesn't always go well, and having access to information is really key, isn't it?
I think so. You know what? It has saved me a stressy moment. We overcame it completely, but the charging session that I was on just disconnected some 6 miles of energy after it starting. Unfortunately, my car didn't have an app or doesn't have an app, and I wasn't able to say connect to that charger and know. So Kempower have got a good thing that you've got a QR code that you can track the charge as it happens. I didn't have that, and so there was a number of things that I was missing, and then I came back to no miles. I just had enough to get to where I needed to be, where I could charge overnight, which is, to Sam's point, not stopping to charge, but chopping. Oh, you know what I mean.
Charging. I don't stop to charge because I stopped.
Thank you. Brain completely out. Oh dear. But that's it, isn't it? So I think that allowance of extra data to be able to do this kind of stuff would be brilliant, and will give us all that connectivity that we need and the visibility, so that we don't end up with situations like that, which can be very stress-inducing. And of course, the press love those sorts of things because it means that the whole world's coming to an end, and we don't need that.
We don't need that. Graham Hill makes an interesting point in the chat. He says the VAT argument is ridiculous. We'll save an average £3 per week. That will get millions of drivers with no extra home chargers. Yeah, I kind of get that, but there shouldn't be that disparity. £3 a week in my pocket is better than £3 a week in the government's pocket. It's my way of looking at it. And Paul does love a tongue twister. Let's move on, shall we? EV charging firm Vital EV is to offer a megawatt charging system known as an MCS. See what they did there? Currently, less than 1 in 10 newly registered trucks are electric, with charging infrastructure one of the key barriers to the electric transition in the HGV sector. Now then, there might be a prize for the person who can guess who I'm going to for comment on EHGV. The Kempower MCS the Kempower MCS provides up to 1.2 megawatts of ultra rapid DC charging and adds up to 372 miles of range during a 30-minute charging session. The new charging solution is based on Kempower's existing hub and spoke architecture, with the 2 Kempower units coupling up to accommodate up to 24 50 kilowatt power modules. Woo! Man, that's the sort of tech we need, Sam, yeah?
Yeah, it is, and it's amazing how many EHGV-related news articles have come out in the last week after the one of last week. It's funny that it's almost as if everybody had their powder dry, waiting for an EHGV announcement. Then all of a sudden, these other things emerge. But no, it's all good stuff. I mean, there's a number of hardware providers now that can provide megawatt charging. Now, as has always been the case, even with the car market, the chargers have typically been able to produce a lot more power than the vehicles can take, and still is the case. We've got 350 kilowatt chargers, and there isn't a car on the road that can take it yet, which is great because it means that the cars need to catch up, and it's the same with the trucks. So megawatt ready is great. It's great to have a megawatt's worth of energy, but none of the big trucks can charge higher than 300 kilowatts at the moment anyway, there or thereabouts. So it's good that the infrastructure is ready and waiting for when the vehicles are able to catch up in terms of the power that they're able to take through the batteries. So yeah, it's an advancement. It's good. It'll mean that trucks can be charged in a taco break period when they're already stopped anyway. Again, to my point, I charged because I've stopped. I stopped. Oh my God, I got it wrong myself. Yeah, I don't stop to charge. I charge because I've stopped. There we go.
Eventually, yeah. Well done.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good. So it's all good. It's good news.
So a taco break, for those of you that don't know about the way trucks operate, trucks have to have a 45-minute specific break after a period of time, which can vary from, I think, 3.5 to 4.25 hours or so. And so they have to have a 45-minute break, which is perfect for this kind of thing, and great to see what Kempower have done. I think others have done it, but nobody's actually come out and said that it's there and available yet.
They have,
but also Kempower have actually delivered the first 400 kilowatt charger, and we have had an offer of a vehicle that can charge at 350 to 355 kilowatts, which is the Lotus, the little sports car. They are claiming a 350 kilowatt charging speed, so we're going to get to test that hopefully one of these days soon, and put it all to the test. So it's good news.
Are you
Yeah, I
raving
just
about
wanna-
a car?
Well,
Huh?
yes, but only because it's got a charging speed that can actually use one of these big chargers.
Get off my
Yeah,
land.
so
You
prove
don't do
the point.
cars.
Yeah, we had that.
Well,
we
you
had that
should
Lotus.
know more then, shouldn't you?
Yeah, we had one of
I
those
knew.
Lotus. Is it a Vijo or Regio or something like that? It's called. I can't remember. We had
A
one at
Vija.
Braintree. We had one at Braintree 2 years ago. Although at that point we could only push it around. But yeah, we just need to temper the 350 kilowatt metric there, like it is in a Tesla now, is 250 kilowatts. But you get it for almost no time whatsoever, and then it drops
Sure.
back down. So what's more important, in my humble opinion, is what your average power is across a normal
Absolutely.
charging session.
No, I agree with
Not
that, Sam.
focusing
I
on
agree with that.
350 when you're there for a blip of a second and then it drops down. So what's real world look like? Not what 5 seconds of peak looks like. That's of no relevance to anyone.
And frankly, I think you're both talking a load of old tosh. It's how long you sat on your ass waiting for the thing to get you charged so you can get gone. I don't care how fast it is. I don't care what the number is. I do care that my watch is ticking. My time is precious. Get me gone. It's just an indicator of how long I might be sat on my bum. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? I love having my show because then I can just butt in whenever I like. It's not really my show. It's the EV Cafe, and we love you all. Now
Get on
then,
with
shall I move on?
Yes, let's get on with it.
Okay. Right. The impact of cost on fleet decarbonisation efforts are revealed in a new report from Shell Fleet Solutions. The report, Fleet Decarbonisation, How to Drive Cost Efficiencies by Unlocking Value, aims to help fleet managers get the most from their investments in low and zero carbon solutions. The report features research from 742 businesses and fleet decision makers across Europe, North America and Asia, pretty much like our audience, which found that the cost of decarbonisation is perceived as the biggest challenge to fleets looking to achieve their sustainability goals. And it goes on to talk about, it's a reasonably long report, lots of nice graphics in it, that the current state of play is decarbonisation is not yet a priority. Only a fifth of fleets surveyed, 21%, have made formal commitment to decarbonisation in their key performance indicators. A slow but sure shift to EVs is being had. The majority of fleets surveyed, 81% for delivery companies, 77% for operational users and 62% for professionals, are yet to begin their transition to EVs. Let me say that again. 81% of delivery companies have yet to start the transition to EVs. All fleet types expect to see adoption rates increase over the next 3 to 5 years. Man, too late. Start now. Though cost and the availability of vehicles and charge points remain key pain points. Operational efficiency remains key. Delivery, operational and professional fleet survey consider solutions to drive efficiency as one of their top 3 most desired benefits for the next 3 to 5 years. But these people don't have plans. What? I don't understand. Anyway, currently the cost of decarbonisation is perceived as the biggest challenge to fleets as they look to achieve their sustainability goals. And Shell makes 3 key recommendations. Understand the total cost of ownership of EVs versus internal combustion engine vehicles in your fleet. Learn about the charging infrastructure you need to power your fleet, and this one's key for me in the transition period. Drive efficiency across your fleet, no matter what powertrain you operate, to reduce costs and emissions. There was an awful lot of stuff in there. Paul, you're nodding sagely. Agree with it all?
I agree with a lot of what's been said, and I think, it's easy to jump on the bandwagon and say, well, look at how many people are not doing it. But government didn't help with their messaging very recently. Now, in fairness, that won't have sort of changed many minds, I don't think. But there has been a lot of confusion. There is still a lot of education, and what we're doing, I think, particularly as an EV industry, I saw a post recently that said, somebody rented a vehicle and didn't have a good experience, but they didn't get a good handover. They didn't get the education that they really need. And we've got to stop forgetting to educate. So I talk to lots of fleets, and I'm talking to many that are struggling with the challenges of decarbonising or going to electric vehicles in their particular solution. And we do need more information in the marketplace. And, so I'm taking time to kind of invest in helping those guys to understand what's available, what the challenges are around charging, and all of those kinds of bits and pieces, and bring this jigsaw together so that people can effectively move across to decarbonising their fleet. And it's really important, the efficiency bit beyond just the electric vehicle. So, the diesel fleet needs to improve. We've got to drive down to, to other different things that we can do within our business. Sustainability is not just about replacing a diesel vehicle with an electric vehicle. It's about really rethinking our business model and how we do things more efficiently, more effectively.
And of course, GridServe lease an awful lot of vehicles. Sam, are you seeing new people coming into the market quicker now? Is there more? Is there a tidal wave of inquiries, or are things a bit slow still?
Yeah, it's a steady increase as it is for all the markets in terms of EV uptake, right? So there's nothing groundbreaking there. I mean, and speaking of groundbreaking, I mean, this report from Shell. If I could be bothered, I would pull up a report from Arup 10 years ago, which said exactly the same thing. So there's nothing in there that hasn't already been said a million times already. So as to Paul's point, there is so much information out there about how to run your fleet, how to look after, how to be efficient. It's all there. It's all on Google. It's not rocket science anymore. There's reports galore. We just got to get on with delivering a change rather than just more reports telling us the same thing again and again and again. Like there's nothing new in there.
So I'm going to disagree with you, Sam. Because, to John's point there, new audience, the news headlines have still got to be full, because you can talk to people day in, day out, and they do not know what is going on. I mean, let's have this example, the motorhome world. I went round a hall full of 12 halls full of vehicles with one electric vehicle in that building, in the NEC. And there is a lot of people that believe a lot of stuff, and we can argue that they're being ridiculous or they're anti-EV, but these are people that are caring about the community and about nature, but just don't understand what's going on. And so there are big areas of fleet, and I think every time we put out a report like this, we should be looking to build on the back of it and educate and support people in the transition, rather than just going, this is old news, let's just do it. Because a lot of people don't know how to do it, and we've got to help them.
It reminds me, Paul, very much of when COVID came out and we all had to be taught how to wash our hands in the 20 seconds. And, and that campaign went on for weeks and months. And yet still, I see people today wandering out of bathrooms, having used the facilities, not washing their hands. I know, Sam, I know. And the trouble is that because it's short-lived, you catch people some of the time, you don't catch others, and then people forget. And I think it behoves us all to keep banging on about the key messages in this sector, because we get it, but frankly,
I agree.
81% don't.
And I also agree with Paul's comments as well. The only thing I'll say is I'm not saying it's old news. I'm just saying it's the same news. I'm not saying we shouldn't shout about it. I'm just saying that it's the same stuff we've known for the last 10 years plus. So that doesn't mean we shouldn't be keep shouting about it. And in some respects, it's good that likes of Shell Oil Company also disseminate the same information. And we do need to keep pushing it out. Indeed. But nothing material has changed. It's the same stuff. You can Google all this stuff to your heart's content very easily. So we do need to keep pushing it. It's the same news, not old news.
It's very helpful.
I suppose it's temperature check, isn't it? And I think we get a lot of these kinds of reports. What does it feel like today? And that's the news from today. And we would have thought we'd have moved forward considerably, but we haven't moved forward as far as perhaps we might think we have.
Indeed. I think there are 3 comments that are worth calling out here. Steve Hamer has very helpfully put the link to the report in the chat. So if you want to click on that, you can go and register for the report and get it into your inbox. 2 other things. Tristan Dorman has said, we've had a few customers who've put their orders of EV chargers on hold due to the 2035 ban pushback. Oh, that's sad. That really is sad. But there we are. That's what's happening. And again, I guess that's why we need to keep saying the same old things. And Joseph Dilworth Well, I think we need from YouTube. I think we need to cut this out and possibly have it printed and put on T-shirts.
Well, it is
Paul
rare.
Is absolutely right.
It's weekly, Sam Clark. It's weekly.
I just love the fact that you two are so sparky, and it reminds me of Jerry Springer. When two guests on Jerry Springer start to have a ruck, somebody rings a bell and off they go, and it's just the best. I might have to invest in a bell.
I thought I saw a bell around.
Thank you all. Final thoughts, Paul. Tough week, good week?
Do you know what? This week has been incredibly exciting. I've been talking to some amazing people. I mean, this guy here is pretty amazing, and he inspires. And I was with people yesterday that inspire from what electric vehicles. I was with people earlier on in the week that inspire, that are doing great things. How can I not feel great? And I'm going away for the weekend with my lovely wife Caroline, and we are going to have a nice relax in this wonderful part of the world. We're not staying in Somerset, but we're heading down to Poole. So I'm probably a 9.5, and I'm not even sure what it would take to get me to a 10. But it's just I'm inspired and encouraged and challenged and motivated. All of those things. It's really good.
Answers on a postcard for what would take Paul Kirby from 9.5 to a 10. Sam, a good week for you? I mean, you're incredibly busy with the HGV project and your normal day job. A good week?
Yeah, pretty good week. I'm pretty tired, to be honest. I mean, this time last week we were announcing the largest CHGV project that's ever been. So we're pretty stoked about that. But yeah, it's been an absolute deluge of comments and reactions and companies coming out of the woodwork ever since. So it's been unrelenting. But that's a good thing. So I'm very, very tired at the moment, but it's for very good reason. And we need to keep pushing on. So but like I often say, we've got to get on and do stuff now, and not just talk about doing stuff. So now's the time to actually turn all of this great positivity and government funding in the right places into reality. And that's the bit I'm working on now, and will continue to do so for probably many years to come. So onwards and upwards, and we'll keep pushing forward, hopefully.
We're obliged to you, Sam, and all the grid servers who are working so hard to change the market. Thank you. Joseph Dilworth, please come back every week. Your insight is remarkable. He says, and I'll finish with this.
Well, I've got one more thing. I forgot to say. One more thing. Sorry, John, because I know you're going to close off. Is that I want to wish our lovely Sarah Sloman well. She's currently travelling. I know she's lost her voice. She's absolutely knackered as well, having travelled all over the place. So while she probably can't speak for herself, I just want to wish her well. I hope she's feeling better soon as well.
Listen, you want to send love letters, mate? You do that privately.
I tell you what, somebody's grabbing a few brownie points, aren't they?
He's hoping for a good weekend. Anyway, let's move on. Joseph Dilworth said the problem is that in this forum we understand the issues, but we have to convince those outside. Go spread the news. Go spread the love. Go talk to people. Be positive. Keep happy. Keep well. And if you've got any clean transport PR or news stories you'd like us to cover, then send them to us at hello@evcafe.org. Until next Friday, it's goodbye from me, it's goodbye from them, and this has been an EV Cafe production brought to you this week by Churchill Expert. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Other sustainability news services are available, but this is just fodder. Disappointed, Sarah. Very disappointed. The EV Cafe is truly blessed to be partnered with Geotab, EV Civil Solutions, the AA, Churchill Insurance, Plug Me In, Paythrough, Zaptec, Spiri, Hydrock, Interval, Kersha, and McIntyre Hudson. We are the EV Cafe, supporting the transition to clean transport. Enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend, wherever it takes you. Until next Friday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
I think
I didn't
Joe
even
has...
get